Oh, great. Patreon is like completely redesigned. I haven't logged in yet, so I don't know when I find anything.
How's your birthday?
It was quiet, but it was good. Hung out with my parents and we played Scrabble,
Nice.
which was like exactly what I wanted to do.
I get to do that this weekend.
I even won a game, which is rare. My dad usually mops up.
Yeah, we're going to mine for Father's Day. Run out tomorrow night before we leave and buying my stepdad a Roku stick for Father's Day
Nice.
so he can watch Netflix in the living room so they don't fight over the TV in the bedroom. I'm being fancy tonight. Little Bloody Mary.
All right, the link is out. What are you having, a Bloody Mary?
Yes.
Oh,
Mm.
looks kind of dark.
Yeah, it's a blue glass, so.
Oh, did you go legit style or is it like literal like V8?
Oh, it's a mix. A mixer. I usually go with the Caesar.
Why Bloody Mary? You hungover?
Nah. We like them on occasion. I haven't had one for a while.
Not my thing, but I respect it. All right, I need a chat. Play any good games lately? Or you're into doing all that tabletop shit?
Yeah, we've been playing One Deck Dungeon, which is a tabletop thing. It's pretty great. It's like a roguelike, but it's a board game. Pretty cool. It's all done with dice and whatnot, so that's been cool. I did pick up Dying Light for the PS4, but I haven't played it yet. Get some zombie action going.
Nice. This whole week I was on vacation. I spent just playing Heroes of Might and Magic 3 because I have it on a thumb drive. Because
Yeah.
my parents' computer like can't play actual games. But it's perfect because then I'm like totally content to just mess around with that for a while. And then I've been playing Dead Cells. They just had a big update on that. It's fun. You should check it out.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like my kind of jam from what you were talking about.
It's nice because if I only have 15 or 20 minutes, I know I can at least get a run in, make a little progress.
Yeah. Delaney's been real big into Death Road to Canada, which is similar type of setup. Looked pretty cool from what I saw of it. We just got. I'm kind of a buzz at the moment, or a Twitter, I guess you could say, because we were watching The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, is that good?
Oh, it's fucking great, but it's terrifying at the same time. Just looking at it in today's political climate, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, right. I saw this thing today. There's a group of protesters that have been going to the Ohio State House dressed up like that
Oh yeah.
because they're debating some bill, some like horrific bill that would cause like mothers to have to carry a baby to term even after they know it's dead, which is like pretty fucked up. I think, especially if you have any experience with that.
Oh yeah. Oop, hold on just a second. Be right back.
Hi, everybody. You can always hit me up actually, Eric BGH on Twitter if anybody's watching and has pre-show questions before I go take my pre-show tinkle.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Just opened up downpoured rain. I couldn't remember if I let the dog in or not.
I just told people they can hit me up on Twitter with pre-show questions before I go take my tinkle.
Yeah, I sent out the tweet too.
This London high-rise story is crazy.
I know. What happened in San Francisco with the UPS today?
I have no idea, man. There's way too much shit to follow today.
Yeah, I know.
Like by the time that happened, I'm like, I can't read any more news right now. Let me know if this is a big deal.
I just happened to see somebody post something about it. A UPS, but it didn't have any details.
Some kind of shooter situation.
Jesus.
Whitney Lynn wants to know if I found anything in my teeth. I did actually. I'm having a salad with some fish on it, so that's attractive.
Nice.
I just got home a little while ago, so I had just enough time to put the baby down and do my pre-show rituals. So I'm about to go get some other snacks too.
Yeah, for those of you new to Patreon that's out there watching, that's usually part of the pre-show is watching Eric eat dinner.
That's right. I think Whitney's been on before. She knows the drill. She's just
I know.
She's just fucking with me. It's cool. All right. I just bought on Steam. Oh fuck! There was a HD remake of a game from like 2000. What the hell's it called? Check my. It's like a isometric medieval warfare thing.
Oh yeah.
It is called Stronghold. Like I've heard
yeah,
of it, but
I
never.
don't remember that one.
There's like an HD remake that's on sale. Was on sale for $1.49, so I picked that up.
Nice. They
The thing that I like about Heroes Might and Magic is it's turn-based. Like I really enjoy turn-based strategy games. Real-time strategy games stress me out too much. Like I play those games because I want to relax.
Yeah.
And I just can't handle the real-time aspect of it.
Have you played XCOM?
No, I haven't actually.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
And I need to. I haven't played the second one yet, but I want to. I've played a lot of the first one though.
It's just like I like it. There's something about it that's almost like chess or something, where you're like, okay, well, I have all the time in the world to make my next move, so I'm just gonna sit here and eat my salad and, figure.
That's
out
another one of the board games that we got that you'd like. It's called Seven Wonders Duel, and it's obviously turn based because you're playing a card game, but it's kind of like it feels like Civilization, the board game version. Because every game you've got certain resources that you're trying to collect because you get to choose a card from the pool, and you're trying to either go for like a scientific win where you're getting certain symbols on your cards. You get like 7 certain symbols, or you're trying to build up for like a military type win where you're doing damage to your enemy with the military, and if you push them past a certain line, you get there. It's pretty neat. I think you dig it.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like all these games like XCOM and Civ and like all these things that I think would fit into genres that I like, but I just find learning new rule sets intimidating. Like I tried to play fuck. What the fuck was the name of that game? This game that so I saw this trailer for this game. There's 2 of them, the Banner Saga. They're just like gorgeous looking games, and I bought the first one. And I was fucking completely lost. Like, I could not pick up the battle system at all. And it also just, wasn't grabbing me. And the thing about Heroes of Might and Magic is, and this is a lame answer, old person answer, but I'm just familiar with the mechanics from, 20 years so I can
Yeah.
jump into it and just play it. And I don't know. I need to branch out a little bit. You've convinced me.
Yeah, I do all right with like computer games with the rules and stuff, but I hate like figuring out board game rules because they usually give you like a thick ass book and whatnot. What works out well is Colleen loves that shit, so we get a game. She'll go through the rules, watch a YouTube video a couple times, and then she'll sit down and show me how to play, which I could do, which I doesn't bother me,
Yeah.
and it works out pretty well.
I'm trying to be more adventurous. My latest thing is I keep thinking like that I want to try like survival. Like I played a lot of Starbound,
Yeah.
but I played on easy, and so on easy you can kind of teleport wherever you want, and you don't lose. You might lose a little bit of money when you die, but you don't lose loot. On the hardcore mode, I think there's a mode that's like if you die, it's over, like permadeath.
Yeah.
And something about that kind of intrigues me a little bit that I think might be interesting. All right, I gotta grab a pre-show snack. I'll be right back.
Alrighty. So I think it's just me and Whitney hanging out on the pre-show and Twitters. Hi, Whitney. She's telling us about Little Nightmares, which I hadn't heard of, but she's going to be checking that out soon. So you have to follow her on Twitter and find out how Little Nightmares plays out. She's at Catastrophic on Twitter. She's a regular, so you should hang out with her. She likes video games a lot, so she's pretty cool to follow for that. So check that out. Looking on Steam here at Little Nightmares, it does look pretty awesome. Help six escape the maw, a vast, mysterious vessel inhabited by the corrupted souls looking for their next meal. Looks like it's got some puzzle stuff, maybe. And it's not like a click adventure type, I don't think. It's funny because the logo looks familiar, but I hadn't seen that the game pictures before. So that's cool. Definitely have to let us know how that is, Whitney, out there. 2001 Event Zero. She's we've got so that's what's cool about following Whitney on Twitter, because I get to find out about games I'd never heard of because I don't get to pay as much attention anymore, so it's pretty cool. Narrative exploration game where you build a relationship with a lonely spaceship computer to get home to Earth. That looks, just from looking at the screenshots of Event Zero and how they talk about you're dealing with a lonely spaceship computer, and the computer they show in there gives me nostalgia of Zork from way back in the day, which is an old text-based adventure. Always fun. It's been forever for that one, though. I've still been on a big board game kick, so I haven't been playing video games as much, and I've been psyching myself up to try and figure out how to DM Dungeons and Dragons, because I've never done that before. I've played it many a time. I've never done DM'd, and I don't know that I'm cut out for it. So we'll see if we can figure that out maybe here somewhere in the future. Started playing Call of Cthulhu role-playing game with Sir John Shelton and Sophie and Jason, and are one of the fans here at Bloody Good Horror, Brian's. So B. Lassiter, we played a game of that. We're going to be getting back into that here in another week or so. So that's been cool too. I haven't played a good RPG in, well, Sophie hadn't played one before, and she was a little worried about it. And we were talking afterwards, and as I told her, I haven't played an RPG since the 90s, so not to worry. Oh, nice. I hope that stream is live, Whitney, because that's hilarious. I guess it's not. So Whitney sent a link there. I'm going to retweet this on the BGH account. So if you're following that BG Horror, you'll see it. Go check out her Twitch channel. She's playing that Event Zero a little bit. It's kind of funny there. Got a laugh out of it, but yeah, cool. Oh, she is live. So we had a meta moment there. She is watching us live, streaming Bloody Good Horror, while I was watching her stream live on Twitch. Surprised the internet didn't implode on itself.
This show might just be you and me, big dog.
Yeah.
Nobody else shows up.
We'll be all right. We just had a meta moment, Eric. You missed out on it.
Up.
Whitney was watching us stream live while I was watching her on Twitch stream a game live.
Oh, weird.
And screaming. Oh no, she said she's working, so it's not as cool. But we got to see her scare herself, so that was cool too.
You should focus on your work. Jeez. Getting distracted.
I'm not entirely positive, but I think Whitney's job may be video games, so.
Yeah, she works at Twitch, I believe.
So I think she's okay. I was telling the listeners out there.
Mark gets to stay on the show. He's not the last one here tonight.
Last
Mark
week, Sir John Shelton, Sophie, Jason, JRD, and our fan Bill Lassiter started playing Call of Cthulhu role-playing game over Skype.
Nice.
It's pretty cool.
Who has the board when you do that?
What's that?
Or is it not a board? Not a board thing.
Yeah, it's a pen and paper type D&D shit, but it was Cthulhu. We had character sheets and everything.
Fancy.
See?
Did you guys stream it? I saw a screen cap. I didn't know if that was like something you guys streamed somewhere or if you just...
I'd taken a picture. I honestly don't know if Shelton was streaming it or recording it or not. We talked about it. I don't know. We were kind of trying it out and rolling characters to see if we could make it work over Skype, and it worked really well. I think the funniest thing, though, was Sophie, who's now out of school and at home, had to ask her dad to go to his law office and print out character sheets.
What's a printer?
Mark, first of all, congratulations for not being the last one here tonight. Nice work. You were early even. I'll give you that. Casey, can you give me some photos, please, from the movie?
Certainly.
I wrote down a couple of trailers I saw, I think. If I can
Mine were not very memorable.
If I can find my notes anywhere. Which probably not. And I deleted all of them, so that's cool. I had at least one or two trailers that I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is not a thing I... Oh, because they were A24 trailers. So Andy might know. There was one of them is it a ghost story?
Yeah, I remember you guys talking about that.
I've seen this trailer a few times, and have you seen it, Casey?
No.
You should go watch it while we're waiting. It's tangentially probably not a horror movie, but it looks really cool. There's some other movie. Other A24 thing. We're waiting on Andy and Sophie, is that right?
I think just Andy.
Just Andy.
Oh, why did I add Sophie to the chat then?
I don't know.
Why are you asking us that? I don't know the answer to that question.
That's a great question, Eric.
Because you cray.
All right, I can't remember what the other one was, so we need some topics. Oh, they released Ex Machina. I didn't realize that.
I think the only horror trailer I got was Wish Upon.
Yeah, it's butt.
I've got some website stuff I can talk about. No? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, I've seen the trailer for A Ghost Story before. I didn't see it before this movie though. It looked cool.
I like the poster for this movie. Too bad it's total bullshit.
I know.
Fucking people. I don't want to rant, Mark.
Are you sure about that?
It might happen. Because what the fuck, man? What are we even doing here? What else we got going on? What's going on in your life, Mark? What should we talk about?
We're building the deck. Can you see that in the back here? You probably can't see it from here.
No, I cannot. Is there any big horror news this week? Oh, what's this thing? Somebody want to pull up an article about the Friday the 13th rights? Let's talk about that.
Are you saying to do 2 minutes of research
Mark,
before we talk about something?
Basically, become an expert on this in the next 2 minutes so that I can call on you.
Who do you think I am, John?
Yeah, isn't that exactly what Schnars does?
I mean, I would argue that he does it during the show. He probably doesn't even do it ahead of time. Friday the 13th producer points to writers union membership in bid to retain franchise rights.
It honestly sounded like a shot, like kind of bullshit to me. Like this guy is trying to come years later and just be like, "Oh yeah, this is mine."
This has way too many words.
Well, first of all, skip the bloody disgusting story because it's the worst written thing I've ever seen.
No, I'm looking at the Hollywood Reporter one, but it's like seriously a long article.
It sounds
about
to me like a guy who was involved somehow in the first film and hasn't been involved at all since then is now trying to come back with some obscure DGA rules or something. Like
from a producer of Saw.
To claim that he somehow has ownership rights. I mean,
Miller pretends that he was not an employee hired pursuant to a WGA employment agreement after all, and now seeks to reap statutory copyright termination rights ascribed only to original owners and grantors of copyright rights, which Miller's union employment agreement and the undisputed facts show he does not have. Lit.
It does not sound like a very unbiased article on the Hollywood Reporter.
Well, that was like a quote from a lawyer, I think.
Oh, I gotcha. So, yeah.
The court need not enter this thicket, however, because the WGA's records demonstrate that no one made any contributions to the WGA's pension and health funds. The failure of Manny to provide Miller with any conventional employment benefits weighs heavily against employee status.
So it sounds to me like this guy's just kind of taking a swing in the dark and he doesn't have much of a shot. Is that what you're getting from this?
Yes.
Do not sound confident. Read the comments. Comments will illuminate it, I'm sure.
Oh, God. I don't think there are. Oh, yeah, there are.
We'll put some Joe and John pictures in since they're not here tonight.
The internet died when they removed comments from IMDb.
Oh, they did do that, didn't they? I still read a lot of... I read comments, but mostly for sport.
Yeah.
Like, comments kind of give you... Not like I don't read them thinking, oh, I'm going to read something interesting and insightful, although like occasionally you do. I mostly do just kind of take the sociological temperature of the room, if that makes sense. It can tell you a lot about the site you're on. And
it's like reading Rotten Tomatoes reviews, right? Like it's you can take the temperature of the hot takes.
Well, I like kind of parsing it too. Like, I wonder how old this person is, because I have this theory that a lot of the dumbest, worst comments you see are from just like 15-year-olds. But you don't necessarily make that connection, and it may not be. I mean, they could
or 60-year-olds.
They could, right? Exactly. They could be just like normal middle-aged adults, but because I think there's this thing where when you read an internet comment, I just think your gut is to think, oh, this person is like me. Not for any reason other than that just makes it more relatable. But that's what kind of hurts your brain about comments, because you're like, how could this person like me be so stupid? But they're not like you, Mark. That's the secret.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still. Yeah, it looks like this guy wrote like basically a spec script for a slasher movie that capitalized on the success of Halloween.
Which was Friday
Hello?
the 13th.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Andy.
Hello, Eric.
I'm ready to go when you boners are.
All right. Am I allowed to pee?
Yeah, go for it, then we'll go.
Cool. I'll be right back.
Right in your pants.
In your hands.
Many reports have swirled about what direction the upcoming films were to take, ranging from a found footage format, exploring Jason's father, hello, or potentially using the concept of Jason being a twin.
All right, wait. Let's just save that for the show because that's actually funny.
That is really funny. Twin Jason. Why? That's that is like
Jesus Christ, they could do Freaky Friday.
Who's like, I would take out a glove and slap the person that came up with the idea of Jason as a twin.
God, can you imagine the two monster Jasons the twins run into each other at camp? Oh, we look just alike. We should see if we can go home and fool our parents.
I only support that if it's like the Danny DeVito twins. Like there's one like tiny squat Jason.
Tiny
TNT
Jason.
is making a series out of Snowpiercer?
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
That movie is cool. I don't know about TV series cool.
Right. I mean, how slowly can you move through the train?
Season 1, The Caboose.
Yeah, exactly. I've made it through the caboose on to season 2.
Thanks for closing your dungeon door, Andy.
You're welcome. You won't believe what's in here.
Did you remember to latch it?
Well, there's actually some chains across it now, so we're good to go.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Kurt Russell, did you guys see this interview?
No.
All right, I'm gonna save.
Tell me more.
I'm gonna save it for the show actually because it's kind of incredible.
Dude,
hate
you're
you.
like, are you familiar with the Anthony Crispino character from Weekend Update? You hear this? You heard about this?
You heard about this thing?
You heard about this?
Was that a Bobby Moynihan?
That was a Bobby Moynihan,
I
yeah.
love it. I love that guy.
I know.
I hope he comes
Rest
out
in
all
peace.
He'll
right.
always be the pizza guy to me, from the first ever like SNL episode that he was
I
on.
feel like you and I are the only people that like that sketch.
I mean, to the extent where when I wanted to find it so I could watch it online, all I could find on was some like bootleg Chinese YouTube or something. That it
There's
was.
a pizza guy.
Yeah, his first ever sketch, he played this dude named Mark Payne, who was like a waiter at a Pizzeria Uno or something, and it's very funny.
Yeah,
Considered
it's
it
only
YouTube.
on it's on Daily Motion and Vimeo and UCB.
Vimeo, nice. Yeah, it's real good. I suggest
Cool.
people look it up. Okay,
Yeah.
We'll do the Vimeos.
we are recording. I'm ready to go here. If you guys want to mute.
Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing It Comes at Night. Is that the title?
I think so. Good research.
Nailed it.
Yes.
I am the host of Bloody Good Horror. Joining me tonight, first up, editor-in-chief of BloodyGoodHorror.com and the web developer. His name is Mark.
Why, hello.
Which of those titles do you think is more prestigious?
Ooh, good question.
Web Beaver?
Yeah, I'll go with editor-in-chief. It's been a long road, but I finally made it.
Yeah.
And
You
it
just had
makes,
to
it makes his resume look diversified.
You
That's
just had to
right.
get to a point where I was too old and lazy to do it anymore. And then
Sure.
and then I bequeathed you the title.
I would argue that I've pretty much been editor-in-chief for the last, 3 years.
All right, that's fair. That's fine. Next up tonight on the show, co-host of the Instamatic, painter of mini figurines. His name is Casey.
Hello.
That looks hard.
It is hard, but
You're-
I find it's a very relaxing process.
You know, you're a big dude too, and they're these little tiny
Oh yeah.
How do you do that? I don't know. It's a
And I
lot of-
have old man eyes. You should see my giant. I don't have it in here. My giant magnifying glass setup that I
Nice.
have.
Are you like me when you
So-
when you start doing a new hobby? You're like, well, I have a mild interest in this. I better go on Amazon and buy every single accessory I could possibly need.
Yeah, I was actually able to contain myself after buying an all-in-one paint kit that came with 12 paints and a couple brushes. So
Yeah,
There you
it
go.
was a good start.
that stuff
So,
always
Casey,
seems cool, but I
I
just
really want to know when you're going to start a fetish channel that's just you painting small things, like those whispering channels. I think you can
while
make some
sitting
money off of
while
that.
sitting on a giant balloon.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
naked.
I also
That's
would
already
want.
out there. So
I also
You're the
would.
next Bob Ross of Nerd World.
I also would want a really sensitive microphone placed in a way that I could just really hear your concentration breathing while you're doing it.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's
Mhm.
key.
it
Yeah.
involves a lot of tongue.
Yeah.
Yep. So slight teeth clacking.
Yep.
Anyway, last up tonight, speaking of awkward breathing, he is coming to us from Milwaukee.
Nope. Not true.
Where are you from tonight?
I live
Oh,
with
you
Casey
live in
now.
Illinois
We're
now.
brothers.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he's in my garage.
He is, what did we decide? The third fanciest person at Bloody Good Horror, or the second maybe? I think it's
I'll take third.
I don't know. It's you and Shelton are 2 and 3. I can't remember what I decided. And then Cece's 4.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think Cece should be above me,
You
clearly.
think so?
Yeah, definitely. Hands down.
Well, his
She has
name
priestess in her title, for fuck's sake.
his name is Andy.
Oh, hey. How's it
Andy,
going?
welcome to the show. I'm
Thank
really
you,
glad
Barry.
you're with us here tonight because I do enjoy making you review dumb movies because there's a certain fun schadenfreude to that. But I also
You make me work for it, that's for sure.
yeah, this movie is a little art housey, so I'm glad we have a smart person in the house to
I
illuminate
would say
these
that
things.
it's more than a little art housey.
Yeah. And so is A24 releasing in general, so I'm glad we have someone here to lay it out for us tonight.
Actually, Eric did. I just remembered this. So there is. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it didn't say Wannaverse, but it's the Annabelle, whatever Annabelle, the beginning or something.
Yeah, so
And it
yeah.
did not say. It of
think
course
it's
did not
called,
say the Wannaverse because we have that copy written and they would have to pay us money.
That's right.
But it did say the Conjuring universe, so
Yeah.
they are
Yeah.
acknowledging
The-
that there is in fact a universe.
The universe created by Juan, I think is
Right.
how
I
they
do
said
have
it.
a question, though. When did marketing people start calling it universe and not galaxy or solar system? That's what I want to know.
It's a good question.
The
Take that to
plane
your
of
marketing.
existence.
That was the first time I got that full extended Annabelle trailer, and you don't. There's a little wait for the reveal, so I'm like, what the hell am I watching right now? And then they showed the doll, and somebody in the back of the theater went, "Oh hell no!"
I still think that I don't know why. I still think the doll in Annabelle is fucking hilarious
It's
looking,
stupid
and I can't.
looking.
It's not.
We had this.
don't know.
We had this
It's-
discussion when we did the movie. You know what's creepier than that dumb over-the-top doll they made? Like an actual Raggedy Ann doll is fucking the creepiest
Yeah.
thing on earth.
Right, like a lifeless. I think that's what it is. It's the doll. They tried to craft the doll right in a way. You can't. If you're listening to this, you can't see Eric's face, but he made a pretty good Annabelle
Somebody
face.
sent me a
They,
picture.
Well, in the first movie, we talked about this on the show. It's there's a bunch of normal looking dolls, and then there's this very clear,
Yeah.
sinister looking doll that's 3 times larger than the rest of them.
It's ridiculous.
She kind of looks like Kristen Wiig in the Lawrence Welk skit with the tiny hands.
Nice.
With
It's
my
just
by
yeah.
myself.
Was that a bad thing to do? The problem is that they're just trying too hard. Like dolls are creepy. You know
I mean,
You know what's a
look at
creepier?
Brahms.
You know what's a creepier doll? Brahms. Or that episode of Seinfeld when Susan has a porcelain doll that looks like George's mom. That's way
Yep,
creepier.
that's pretty good. Mhm.
You know,
I mean, you don't have to tell me this. I was living with a sister who had 4 of the American Girl dolls. At the time, I was terrified of Child's Play. So I,
Casey,
But
this
it is
picture you
real.
sent is amazing.
Isn't it?
That can't be real. That is so stupid
That,
looking.
that's not the real thing. Is that the
Yeah.
real thing?
Yeah.
It looks like an SNL parody skit of it. Yeah, and then and the other Wandaverse thing was that they're making a Slender Man. Twisted Man. What the hell's the guy from
Crooked Man.
Crooked Man, thank you. Which actually like fine.
Salad fingers.
It's
I
gonna
think it's
be
Burning Man.
You know,
Salad
it's gonna
fingers.
be the same bullshit movie as all these movies are at this point. Which I hate. I'm at the point that I'm saying this because they're well-made movies. I can only see so many of them before I start making fun of them.
Yeah, the Twisty Doodle Man, I think, is actually what it's called.
So
Right.
anyway, that's.
But
happening.
Eric, what do you think the protagonists need to do for the Twisty Doodle Man in order to get him to go away, but then reappear later in the movie?
You know what they should do is do like a prequel. Because isn't he like Victorian or something?
I'll allow it.
Right. So like do like old timey Britain. I don't know. That could be cool.
Kind of like a Jack the Ripper, but the Crooked Man.
Yeah, like that era. Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's the real Annabelle doll. Like, I don't believe
Yeah.
that doll's possessed, but I don't think I would hang out in a room with it by myself. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
It's got enough creep factor to make you,
Yeah.
yeah, it's justified sitting in that case.
I'm skeptical, but also have a healthy fear of creepy dolls. So yeah, Mark. Jesus Christ, Mark, unmute your mic.
Sorry, I was just trying to find pictures of Bill Pullman's shoes.
You're killing me. Hey, I appointed you 2 seconds before the show started to become an expert on this Friday the 13th story
Jesus
today.
Christ. Oh no, I already forgot all of it. Basically, I can't even remember the guy's name, but someone who wrote a spec script that maybe sort of disputably became Friday the 13th is now involved in a court battle over the rights to the franchise.
Claiming that they own it. They're trying to invoke some type of like arcane DG or WGA rule that to like claim ownership of the franchise or something. Which
I mean, my only question is why wait this long? It's been so long.
I feel
Well,
like
he was waiting for people to start using the term universe, and now he gets to say, "I'm the creator of the Friday the 13th
Oh my God.
universe."
yeah, it is
Yeah.
funny. It is funny,
Where Jason is a spaceman and also grows weed.
and it's interesting because there's been another one in
Same
develop.
thing.
There's been another one in development hell for years at this point. So it's like,
Mhm.
and then the video game just came out, and which they patched by the
Yeah.
way.
I don't know. I hope that guy wins the rights because that means I get a chance to buy yet another freaking DVD box set.
There you go.
Yeah.
I haven't played the game yet, but I have watched some streams of it, and it looks okay. It looks
Yeah.
like it would get old pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea, though.
I
think-
mean, it looks like Left 4 Dead to me with Jason.
I still think like a narrative adventure game would be more fun, but
Where you're Jason, or where you're the survivors?
where you're like counselors, like something like that, Dead by Dawn, or whatever that was called.
So you're basically like role playing, like Truth or Dare. You get to do like funny dances
Sure.
and hang out with other
Well,
counselors.
There's all kinds of
Right,
things
right.
you could do, Mark. You could be
And
the
then when you get your XP, that actually increases the number of people you sleep with over the course
Like,
of the game.
you could be the creepy guy whose sister was murdered by Jason, and now you're back. But like early in the movie, you're just a weird guy in the woods, and the counselors don't know what's up with you. But then if they find out you're there to hunt Jason, you could be that guy.
Or you could, yeah, sure, you could be on a cruise ship over the Hudson.
Yes,
know?
sure. You could be
Hypothetically, you could be a boxer. You could be a boxer in a tracksuit on a cruise ship over the Hudson.
you could be that guy who works in the kitchen, who looks just like our uncle.
Hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. This story seems the horror sites were a Twitter with it today. It kind of seems like a hot load of bullshit to me. That's not gonna go anywhere. But
I mean, if it's not clear why we don't write the news anymore, this is why. Because this is all it's not going to go anywhere. I'm sure someone
sure.
like
but-
Bloody Disgusting gets a couple thousand page views out of it, and then everyone forgets this dude exists.
But of interest because we all like Friday the 13th, or at least
I think Eric owns the rights because he has a really cool Jason mask sitting behind him. I think that's
right there, y'all.
Yep.
That's Bump in the Night Studios right there. That thing's got to be 15 years old, maybe 10 years old.
Do you think Bump in the Night Studios is still a thing?
They are, and they have a ton of shit on their website. Because I thought
What do you
about
think
it.
that is? Is that fiberglass? What is that?
It's like I don't know. It's probably fiberglass. It's a replica. It's got the real leather straps. It's got the like same markings. It's from part 7, so it's got the part missing that the boat propeller knocked off at the end of part 6.
Ooh.
Very
Yep.
accurate, my friend, and I would know.
The listeners can't see this, but I'm pushing up your glasses that you're not currently wearing through
Yeah.
your webcam.
Later in the show, I'll grab it and I can show.
Well, it is weathered in the manner of the 7th film.
I can show the camera. Anyway, we can move on here. I really quickly just wanted to mention that the trailers in this movie were interesting. It comes at night. A24 releasing that Andy helpfully pointed out also released The Witch, which is going to become a pretty big plot point later. But
Weatch.
I just want to briefly say, because this is my forum to say things, that the trailer for A Ghost Story is fucking rad, and that seems like a movie that I really want to see. It's not even really a horror
Yes.
movie, or it doesn't appear to be.
It is on our list of films for reviewers to review, mostly because Ghost is in the title.
Sure. It looks like a lot of feelings in there, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
we're
does
gonna be
kind
a little
of.
weepy.
It does look like Feelings, the movie, which I am very into.
Well, and this
I love
this
feelings.
latest trailer I saw has an interesting pull quote that says it's about, like, I noticed something in this viewing of the trailer that I haven't noticed before. The pull quote says it's like about the enormity of time, and then I noticed that actually some of the shots are jumping around at like different periods of history or something.
Yeah, this is the first time I saw that trailer that I noticed that too, where it seems like it's actually going to be a progression of
So
like
it seems like it's
potentially centuries.
it's about a house, I guess, and I'm wondering if the ghost represents the house or something, or the soul of the house. I don't know. It's who knows.
I think that's that Japanese
I just
movie
want
house.
to. I had to stop myself. Don't go to the Wikipedia because the literal
Oh,
entire
God.
plot synopsis from beginning to end is on there.
Did you just get
but-
spoiled?
No, not really. I did just want to point out, in case you were wondering if this was the most art housey movie ever, the main characters' names are C and M, as in the letters. So
As in punk.
yeah, I mean the only thing more art house would if it was like the man and the woman with a Y.
Mhm. Well, for interested parties, the guy that directed this, his name's David Lowery. He did a film called Ain't Them Body Saints. I think that's on Netflix right now. It's worth a watch. It's very like Terrence Malick, kind of like Lovers on the Run kind of movie.
I love.
And he also did the Pete's Dragon remake from last year, I think.
I am in the camp that I think Terrence Malick is like one of the best living directors. Like, he's very high up on my list.
How do you feel about the Song to Song? Have you seen that one?
I have not.
Let me know what you think.
All right,
Come back to us.
will do.
Good talk, guys.
Yes. Anybody drink anything good before we
You heard it
roll
here.
on here?
I am drinking the Sierra Nevada Sidecar Orange IPA. I haven't had a Sierra Nevada in a very long time, and it's not bad. It's not really super orangey, and it is a passably IPA.
You
So-
know what I have to say about that, Mark?
What's up?
Beer guts.
That's all. All right, guys. It is
Can we talk about the
time-
website or no? Or are you just going to totally skip over that
sure.
part?
Go ahead.
Cool, thanks. So we have a website. It's bloodygoodhorror.com. There you go. And so Evan has been reviewing Twin Peaks: The Return, and he may have heard my passive threat on the show because he's keeping up with it spectacularly, right on time. Usually those go up on Monday or Tuesday. So he just had his review up for episode 6. And also, our new writer, Craig, is continuing in his new tradition of taking big old massive dumps on mainstream horror movies that are coming out. So he has a review of the movie we did not review this week, Mummy 2017. And I am not going to tell you what his rating is, but it is very low.
Good.
So
Good.
that's worth checking out at bloodygoodhorror.com. If you are a frequent visitor to the site, you may also notice that there are some visual updates to the site. Nothing super exciting feature-wise yet, except for some visual updates. But I am working on a pretty cool update to the site, specifically around kind of a movie browser, a lot like Killer Flicks, but integrated into bloodygoodhorror.com, and also as a plug for Patreon. So I believe it's everybody. Eric, do you know is it everybody at the $3 and up level that gets added to Slack, or is it just everybody?
I do not know that answer, Mark.
Okay, cool. Well, if you're not a patron,
I think it's
Uh,
everybody.
cool. Well, there's all sorts of benefits, including access to the live show and back episodes of the show, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. But also, you get added to our Slack channel. So for those of you who are not familiar with Slack, it's a chat app, really great for sending GIFs and maintaining communication with people. And there's actually in that channel, there is a website updates channel that I started. So when I'm working on new stuff at the site, and you want to give kind of live feedback to that, there's a group that's helping out with that stuff, which is pretty cool. And yeah, that's all. That is all my rapid fire plugs for this week. bloodygoodhorror.com.
Very nice, thank you, Mark. So when you were speaking there, I wanted to grab my this is my Jason mask here. It's got the mesh netting in the eyes, which is nice because it gives you that little the shadow look, and you got your missing piece here. And this would be the axe hit from, I believe, part 3.
Tommy Jarvis.
No,
Part
I don't know.
That's
I just
part
wanted to
4,
say Tommy Jarvis out
and
loud.
Tommy Jarvis hits him with a machete after his mask has been knocked off.
Right.
So yes, pretty sweet. And you mean you could? It's got a leather thing and a little. You could wear it if you wanted to. It's pretty sweet.
Cool. Can you repeat to me what I said about the website?
Yes, Slack and a mean review about the Mummy, which probably
You fucking
deserved it.
failed. Detention.
Those are 2 things.
Those are 2 things that I said. You're right. But
You douche.
66.66667% is not good enough.
Very quickly. Go ahead.
Another benefit to becoming a Patreon or a patron on Patreon is you get access to Sophisticult Cinema, and we just dropped a new episode in which we talk about The Handmaiden and In the Realm of the Senses. So,
Very nice.
added benefit, you get to hear me heavy breathing over some sexual stuff.
Nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Holy F. And I also forgot this past week we debuted our new show, New Class Live, which is much like our Spooktaculars, but with our plucky young counterparts, Sophie, Evan, and Spencer. So that happened this past weekend.
Yes.
It's going to be kind of a once a month live viewing thing, much like the Spooktacular, hopefully movies that you can get access to on Netflix and that sort of thing. So that'll be sort of promoted through the Patreon feed, but there's also a live tweeting element to it.
Someday you'll get an Instamatic episode too, but I can't tell you when.
And if you like books, there's something read. We really have something for everyone.
It's
really
true.
fantastic. It's a great bargain.
Thank you, Mark.
Sure.
Very quickly here, before we get on the show, the most important piece of news tonight. This revelation that Kurt Russell, and remember that name because it's going to blow your mind here when I read the rest of the sentence, was the civil pilot who called in the Phoenix Lights the night that it happened.
Oh, no shit.
In a new interview, Russell reveals he was the pilot who called in the unusual lights spotted in the Arizona sky. Here's his testimony that aired on BBC in April of this year. There's a video. He wasn't aware of the magnitude of the incident until years later when his wife, Goldie Hawn, was watching a television show about UFOs, and it was about that event. So that's fucking weird.
I like the image of the both of them just like chilling on a couch, and he's like making dinner or something, and then Goldie Hawn's like freaking out, telling him like that thing that you did,
Like,
it's a conspiracy.
Goldie
theory
Hawn's
now."
watching like an Ancient Aliens rerun or something.
Yeah,
Like, that's a
just
weird.
total
Aliens.
Yeah,
total DVR and chill
Kurt, it was aliens. I'd love to
at
know
the
if he what he
Hawn
thinks.
Kurt house.
All right, guys, it is time to review It Comes at Night.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch.
Main feature.
Love it. Andy, I can synopsize a little, but can you tell me a little bit about A24? Do you know anything about this director, like this movie's pedigree, as it were?
Ah, yes. So a little bit about the director.
But of
He
course.
came out kind of. Excuse me.
I'm just mocking you. Carry on.
Oh, yeah. A little bit about the director. He came out hot last year with this film called Krisha. I believe it had festival runs in 2015, but it's a kind of autobiographical piece in which he basically centers on this woman, Krisha, who plays his, actually played by his real life aunt, Krisha. And it's kind of about her struggles with alcoholism during a Thanksgiving dinner. And that's really all I kind of want to give away. It's incredibly tense for being a very pared down domestic drama. And the way he actually films it is very much in line with like Cassavetes meets like John Carpenter. Like there's actually like sequences like early in the film that look like the early sequences in Halloween. And it's really fascinating, and people should definitely check it out.
What's
It's
it
on
called?
it is on the Primes right now if you want to see it.
What's that called?
Krisha, so Krisha.
Carry on.
Yes, so that's a little bit about the director. His name's Trey Edward Schultz. And fun fact, Eric, he also worked with one Terry Malick on a couple
Oh.
films. And you might notice some similarities in his filmmaking style,
Yeah.
particularly in Krisha, more so there than in It Comes at Night. But
And
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, an A24 releasing, like, they're sort of making a name for themselves by pushing these kind of like art housey horror films to the mainstream, right?
Yeah, so like their kind of deal, if you look at their filmography, like one of the biggest films that they've done is actually an adaptation of a book called Room that came out last year, I believe, or 2 years ago. And I think that the most that capped domestic box office, I think, was around $25 million. Everything else that they've done is like been below that or around that level. So they have this appearance of like really specializing in critical darling kind of small budget films that they kind of pick up and try to get in like wider releases.
Yeah.
Like for example, other films they've done is The Lobster, also The Black Coat's Daughter, which we have a review on
Oh, right.
bloodygoodhorror.com.
The Black Coat's
And,
Daughter.
And also you guys did a show on that, right?
Yeah.
Recently?
It's dope.
They also
Green Room.
Green Room. They also released The Monster, which we talked about last year.
So these guys are
And,
on a bit of a run. They're almost like the new Lionsgate, when Lionsgate was cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, and they also, I mean, like, for example, just to describe the diversity of their release schedule, they also did Moonlight, so Best Picture of last year. So these guys have their fingers in quite a few things.
Hmm.
That could have been phrased differently.
Nope, that's the only
Phrasing.
way.
Yeah, so this movie is about a family unit. There's a father, a mother, and a son who's 17. They live in the woods, and it's never explicitly laid out, but basically we're to understand that this is in some type of world where there has been an outbreak. And it's sort of a zombie outbreak, but kind of like a muted, it's treated much like a disease. And even when the people turn, it's not necessarily 100% zombie-like, but zombie enough that, you should be afraid of them. And the movie starts. Does the movie start really with them, like, packing up for the night, and then the home invasion part happens, like, right in the beginning, right?
So
The movie
the actual
starts with the grandpa stuff.
Yes. So the movie kicks off. The grandpa gets...
I
Grandpa
will not
stuff.
rephrase that.
The grandfather
my
gets...
favorite porn.
The grandfather gets infected, and it's a really grim scene. They have to drag him out to the woods and kind of put him out of his zombie misery, and then burn the body. And the father takes the son along with them, which is a little bit of an issue with the mother. But there's just a lot about the son in the movie of like kind of coming of age and issues that's causing. And so this is his kind of like becoming a man moment. He seems pretty disturbed by it. The next night, or whatever it is, soon thereafter, they're woken up in the middle of the night by, there's this kind of long, creepy hallway in the house that leads to the room where their grandfather was staying. And somebody, like, basically somebody's in the house. So they get up, they're well armed. This is clearly some kind of like, if not post-apocalypse, like mid-apocalypse kind of situation where there aren't a lot of people left. The people who are left don't really know what's happening around them. We're not really fed this. You're sort of left to piece that together from kind of context clues. So this really tense scene, he finds this guy who's tried to break into his house. He then captures him, the father, duct tapes this guy to a tree, and leaves him there for a couple days while he figures out what to do with him. He eventually comes to believe the guy that he was just there. He has a family. He just was looking for supplies. He didn't know anybody lived there because the lights were out. And so he was just kind of like rummaging through, in other words, the guy's claiming, I didn't know there were people here, whatever, you can trust me. So he eventually unties him, he agrees to bring this guy's family to their house so they can live together and sort of be a stronger unit. The more people you have, the more defense you have, the more working hands you have, etc. And then the rest of the movie really plays out sort of the two families coming to a very tentative living relationship that's sometimes like nice and sweet and caring, and other times gets to the core of like how hard it is to trust another human being in this situation, which is like really what this whole movie's about, is like if they're not your family and it's literally life or death, like how do you trust them? And so the whole movie is just like playing on this relationship, especially between the two fathers. And then that kind of comes to a head towards the end, and we'll get to that later. And we're definitely going to get into spoilers because I have a lot of things that I want to discuss. But first, spoiler alert, there's no it. So we'll just get that out of there now, which I have some more thoughts on.
Spoiler alert.
I have some more thoughts on that in a moment. But first up, Andy, what did you think of It Comes at Night?
So this is the kind of film that I think is best served from a perspective of it being kind of like an outer genre exercise. I mean, I'm actually like currently writing a review for this for the website, bloodygoodhorror.com. And one of the things I like am trying to like working through with this is, honestly, like this is a film that was made in the context in which one of the most popular shows in the country right now is a show explicitly about the idea of not being able to trust other people other than your family in a zombie apocalypse context. And so it's kind of like, what are you doing differently, right? Like, what are you doing that's actually making this like interesting and unique? And I think a lot of what actually works about this is the stuff that has nothing to do with the actual like apocalypse elements. The stuff that works really well is the film actually transitions into the son's perspective, and that son, his name is Travis. And when the film kind of settles into his perspective, that's when it becomes interesting. Again, like not to spoil a lot of it, but I feel like that the end completely destroyed all of the goodwill it built up in me, like throughout the film.
It's a tough ending to love, for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Casey.
So we, as Eric mentioned in his brief spoiler alert there, this movie did not turn out to be anything like I thought it was from the trailers. The trailers are highly, highly misleading. But that said, once I was able to wrap my head around the idea that I wasn't going to see the type of movie I thought I was going to see, I got sucked into it pretty well. Talking about apocalyptic situations and whatnot, especially when you're talking about zombie movies and stuff like that, I've always been the type that said, the zombies are there for set dressing and nothing else. The story's always about how the people deal with each other in this type of situation. And this movie went a step further and took out the set dressing and let you deal with those people and still able to make it fairly effective, with the weight of what's going on around them. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought the acting was all great. I liked the idea of where the story was going. And it's a slow burner. It is... I could agree with Andy to an extent on the ending. I don't think it quite turned me as much as it sounds like it did him with the ending of this movie, but it was also one head scratcher moment. I walked out thinking, really, that's it? And we'll get to that later, but I enjoyed it.
Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think my opinion has actually even changed since I last emailed you guys this afternoon. It's kind of gone back and forth. I agree that there's definitely a case of mismatched expectations. It's weird, like I didn't actually really know anything about it going into it, but just seeing the poster on the way into the theater, like just makes it seem like a totally different movie than it is. And I was actually just looking at Rotten Tomatoes out of curiosity, and I know that obviously Rotten Tomatoes is not like the be-all end-all, but it is kind of an interesting, just like quick temperature check. The critic score is 86%, and the audience score is 44%,
That's
which
not
to me that
surprising
should
at all. Yeah.
Right, that should tell you. Like, I think that I think a lot of people like went into this having like literally no idea what to expect, other than like it sounds like a horror movie, and the posters make it look like a horror movie. And it is a thriller and has horror-y elements to it, but it's really not traditional in any way. I kind of likened it to Right at Your Door, which thank you, Andy, for like helping me dig up the name of that movie. We did it for episode.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it was. I just had it up a second ago. Episode 81 was Right at Your Door, so that was a very long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and that movie's all about like another post-apocalyptic scenario that's sort of claustrophobic in the same way, but also where like not a ton happens. So that was kind of my closest analog for it. I think that it is really well shot. I think that it's super tense, especially in the kind of more human moments. And as you get towards the end, there is not much of a payoff to speak of, but like I feel like that's probably a very deliberate choice. So I don't know. I mean, I think this is a very high quality film that is generally unsatisfying as a movie with like pretty clear motives. But I do think that it's kind of worth looking at, and I do think that, you know, if it weren't so well acted and if it weren't so kind of well directed, I feel like we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But it does sort of earn back a bunch of goodwill by virtue of being really high quality, even if it's not super satisfying.
Yeah, yeah, man, I have so many emotions about this movie, you guys.
Go on.
I've had the same experience though. Like the farther removed I am from my immediate kind of visceral reaction from the ending, and taking in the audience reaction, which I'll talk about in a second, the more I really think about this movie, it's really, really well done. Like this is an incredibly, incredibly tense movie. I think to what Andy's saying, like what it does best is just it's so realistic. It's very lo-fi and no frills, and it lends itself to this very realistic depiction of what a post-apocalyptic, like really this movie could have no zombies in it at all and just be about a disease that kills you, and
which
like,
is pretty much what it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
I
like,
don't really know if there is zombies in it.
You know, but even like, but don't they attack you or something when they're?
No, they're just like sick people.
I thought there was a thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting this confused with the girl with all the gifts.
The girl with all the gifts. Yeah.
Like, it's really good, man. The lead actor, what's this guy's name? The lead?
Joel Edgerton.
Yeah. Okay,
is that who you're thinking
incredible in this movie. I think the other guy's really good. Like the whole movie, you never know the other guy's motives, and the way they like play with that back and forth between the characters is so incredible. Like there's this great scene too later on where they're sharing a drink, and then there's a great callback. Oh, yeah. There's like this really tense scene. There's a great callback to a thing that the guy had said at the beginning of the movie, and up until this point, we've basically been getting the happy montage of like milking goats and taking eggs from chickens, and we're doing the water thing. But then all of a sudden, it's like the guy says one thing.
A disappointing lack of eating beans out of a can.
Eating beans out of a can. But they're getting along, and it's like everything's working okay after this tense opening. And then this conversation happens, and this one thing is said, and the mood turns so dark so fast. The ending to this movie is kind of bullshit. And the other problem is that because it's so small, and oh God, I don't even know. It's small doesn't even do it justice. It's like, I can't think of the word, but I didn't even know I was in the third act is what I'm trying to say, because there's no real ramp up. And so part of my problem with the ending is that I wasn't even in the mindset of like, okay, I got to prepare myself now for the cliffhanger, for the non-ending. I was like, oh, I'm nowhere near the ending because I hadn't looked at my watch. And I was like, but there's no way this is the third act. It doesn't seem like, it seemed like the beginning of the third act, and then the movie ends, and you're like, literally. So there's a lot going on, right? First, you're left to digest this insane ending. My audience, that I could tell was a lot of people. There's a handful of things you can kind of pick out. Well, like, oh, that's a nerd. Like he's like me. He saw the trailer online or something. But there definitely seemed like a contingent in the audience of just people that will go out to a horror movie occasionally when they see a trailer that really grabs their attention. And the trailer for this movie is really good. The problem with it is that it is a complete, like, bald-faced lie. And I don't want to really, I don't want to really rant about it too much, but I kind of do, because not only does it do the movie a disservice.
You could like hear you mulling that over in your
Well,
head.
no, the video started.
The
video started freezing, and I wasn't sure if you guys could still hear me. But like, not only does it do the movie a disservice, but it like does the genre a disservice. And it's really interesting because these people put out The Witch, and they did the same friggin' thing with The Witch, where they really grossly misrepresented it as something that it wasn't. And then if you guys remember, like my crowd coming out of that was so confused as to what the hell they had just seen. If anything, this is worse because The Witch has a witch in it. There's no it in this movie, and it doesn't come at night.
Several witches, in fact.
And unless what you're talking about coming at night is the dude's awkward teenage boners, there's nothing that comes at night in this movie.
I mean, that does come at night sometimes.
It's actually really rare. So, The Witch was called The Witch, and there was a witch in it. This movie, literally, the title is a lie. And I think, personally, that the title is a very calculated lie to make people in the mainstream think it's a certain thing. I just can't get away from it because, like, why do you market and name this movie like this if you're not trying to mislead people as to what the movie's about to get them in their seat?
I agree with you, but I would suppose, and obviously I have no way of knowing this, that like the writer of this movie may, if they helped come up with the title, may have some sort of like metaphorical that they're talking about, but
sure.
It's not clear.
But I heard that the title was changed.
Oh, that sucks. I mean,
well, yeah, let me look. So, but it's the combination of the title and the trailer, right? And so, to me, you're just doing a disservice because you're tricking people into coming to see your movie that are gonna hate it. Like those people.
I will say too, just from like the actual film standpoint, and this is a little bit in the marketing too. One of the posters is like, it's a really dark poster, and pretty much all you see is the son character approaching this red door, and they do a lot. I mean, like a big red door is probably like the most on the nose sort of cinematic thing you could possibly do, and they make such a big deal about this door, about not opening this door and whatever, and you don't really get, they hint that there's like something behind the door, but you don't do a lot with the door. That's the thing, is like it is kind of set up as this like sinister thing, and like you're expecting some big reveal to come from behind the door, and it really never happens. Like that's the closest this gets to sort of
and the poster, which is kind of an amazing poster, but again, total bullshit, is a picture of the dog staring out into the abyss of of a forest at night. And it's like, okay, technically the guy comes from the dark and comes through the window in the beginning, but so I don't know. I hate to harp on it, and I usually try to have like measured responses to these things, but something about the way the audience reacted really stuck with me, because I'm like, it's not their fault. Like they thought they were here to see something else because of what they were being told, and to hear them be so upset after seeing a horror movie, I'm just like, that sucks, because that might discourage them from seeing something else they see a trailer for in the future that they like,
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with The Witch, though. Like we talked about it on that show, that at least in the case of The Witch, like I couldn't figure out someone who is a non-horror fan that would also be a fan of The Witch.
Sure.
But I would argue that this movie, the problem with this movie in that sense is that I actually could see someone being drawn into a drama like this. But the problem is those people are probably looking for like really recognizable actors, and there's like semi-recognizable actors in this movie. But nothing to be like, ooh, I want to see a thriller starring so-and-so that I really, it's like,
that's
this
a
one
good
guy
point.
was on Girls, and this other guy has been in a bunch of movies.
It's like, a good point that this film actually is pretty it's much more relatable than The Witch, obviously, because The Witch is relatable to literally no one that's alive. But yeah, like it's such the themes of trust and family and fear of both disease and of outsiders, like it's a super relatable film. So we can move on. I just had a little mini rant. Like, it sucks, and I'm seeing a lot of people, also talking about it on Twitter, and I think it's an important discussion to have. And I just to see a trend with A24 now 2 years in a row, or three, whatever, which was last year, 2 years ago. It just sucks. Getting back to the movie, though, like the ending, I think is super problematic, but I do think that there's a lot to like before that.
Well, sorry, sorry, before we get off this meta discussion too far, I just want to put on my Schnars hat quick. This made almost $7.5 million domestic in its opening weekend on a budget of, I think, $6 million. So
good for them.
I mean, it's an interesting point to be made about this, right? Is like this is a movie that does not, I would argue, probably wasn't intended to make a lot of money, but it did what it was supposed to do, which was make its money back. Now, this is not going to be a blockbuster, but like, it's not really necessarily a loss, right? In terms of
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just
I mean,
kind
like-
of an interesting thing. It's like, but at what cost, right? Like you could have done it better if it was. I don't know. You never know. Like if it was marketed differently. But sorry. you said
Well,
it.
no, I mean, like it's really interesting with the release strategy with this because it was in over 2,000 theaters, and I believe Krisha wasn't in that many theaters, but it was also in the thousands. And it's just it's really interesting to me to think that they can push films like this and like Krisha like out to a wider audience, and that they're still like willing to do that, I guess. I mean, I don't have any like emotional feelings one way or the other about it. I actually kind of like find it honorable in a certain extent that they are
yeah, I
trying
mean,
to like
what they're
get.
it's more the way they're doing, right? Like putting out
Sure, yeah,
intellectual
no.
films to a wide audience is amazing. It's what we all kind of want, right? But it just feels like being dishonest the way they're doing it.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. No, I get that.
And the way this business works too, we don't know how much A24 was in control of the marketing either, right? They could have had other companies make
They're
that
probably-
trailer.
Who
And,
knows?
Yeah, they're probably pretty close into it just because they're a distributor, but like I don't really know. And they were also the production company on this. But one thing so like getting kind of back into the movie though, I think that this is actually like a really good example of like a film in which you talk about horror as a genre, right? Because I mean, just from like doing a horror movie website, right? Like we've got like all kinds of movies that we like post reviews for that aren't necessarily like quote unquote like pure horror, just because the idea of a pure genre doesn't really exist, right? Like it's always like overlapping with something else. And this movie in particular, it's, and we've said it before, it's not really interested in what the it is, right? I mean, like something like It Follows, the sequel, that's a joke, never mind. But something like It Follows, like that's a movie that's inherently about its monster and the metaphor it draws from that as being something like death. This, like the it, is actually like something that's more so, it's something that actually comes from Travis's psychology, because and Mark, I think you mentioned this in the emails, but like the majority of the quote unquote horror imagery in this film actually comes from his dreams.
Right.
And
right.
I think what makes the film so interesting, again, going back to Travis's perspective, is actually a film about him wrestling with not only his night boners, messing with wet dreams, that's one. And then also the fact that like it opens with his grandfather's death and the fact he has to burn his grandfather's body. It's a movie about this kid trying to negotiate all these traumatic emotional events and like also reconciling with his family who he doesn't agree with.
And here's
And
the
I think
other
that-
the
Oh,
other
go for it.
thing that makes that crazy or interesting in his development is like he's alone in the apocalypse, right? And he's 17 years old. So like he's in the time of your life when you probably feel the loneliest for most people. And he has nobody his age. There's no like females his age. He's clearly like, in puberty, or like, he's sort of having an awakening, so to speak, but there's no one there for him. And like, it appeared to me like him and the grandfather slept in the same room. Like they were really tight. And then when the grandfather was gone, like the dog slept on the other bed. And then like halfway through the movie, the dog kind of goes bye-bye.
Oh my god.
And then like, so
many-
it's this thing, this continual process of him just like, he's alone. Like you just feel that so deeply. I want to,
really wish the dog lasted longer.
yeah, or he came back or something. I missed, that was a good, sweet dog. Dogs
Well,
are
he
super,
did
listen,
come at
comes
night.
Yeah.
If
the
you
dog
live
comes
in-
back.
like, if
Maybe
you-
it's all about the dog.
if you
It's all
live
about
in the
dog.
forest during the apocalypse, you need a dog, man. Like,
Or at the very least a goat or two.
yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
Black
talk.
Phillip,
I want to talk,
represent.
Andy, because I think like there's a lot of themes thrown around in this movie that I don't know if it's that they're only touch on a surface level, or that they're just very subtle. But really, it does really become a lot about this kid at one point. And I'm wondering your thoughts on the significance of like, so the other guy and his wife have joined the house, and she's cute, and she's, a little younger, and he kind of takes a liking to her. and it's played up as a pretty significant part of the plot. Like he's creeping a little bit and watching them through the um, air ducts, and he has this little interaction with her at night.
Well, yeah,
You know what?
that's-
You know what I think they nail in this movie? How awkward it would be to have random strangers move into your house in the apocalypse. Like it's just the person to person interaction is so genuine to me because
at night
Yeah.
we use
it's
pee
a-
buckets next to the bed.
like letting them into their house is such a the whole thing, it's very vulnerable on both sides, and you really get that feeling from everybody and the ways they're trying to fit together and how
Yeah.
awkward and strange that is, but like it's kind of a necessity. I don't
Well-
know. To talk to me, Andy, about the kid and his significance in the movie, because that's really, I feel like, where the core of it is.
I'm sorry, Casey, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, while I agree on a lot of the stuff that you were saying about the kid earlier, I really got drawn into the relationship of the dad and this Will guy that shows up, because it really kind of showcases outside of Travis and his view of what he's going through on, which is a very singular issue that's going on for him and the apocalypse, and being all by himself at that age. Whereas dad is going through a whole storm of emotions of, I really need the help and we would be safer, but I don't know if I could trust these people, and my family is more important and I have to protect them. And watching kind of the range that him and this Will guy goes through as they get to know each other, they start to trust each other and see, and then when things start going haywire and see how that quickly that changes and flips and everything, I thought was fascinating as well.
Well, and there's like
Mhm.
a under the surface Planet of the Apes thing going on too, because it's like two alphas agreeing to come together and work together, and then one guy kind of clearly, I think, becomes the beta, even if it's in a subtle way, and just the way that they do that whole interaction is really fascinating.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
it's
I
so,
didn't
it's
really
subtle,
see
like
Will. I didn't really see I didn't see like a challenge so much as like two alphas. I thought Will kind of slipped into the beta mode fairly easily without a lot of challenge.
well, no, he did, but at the beginning he was tied in up to a tree.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
but
Like, that's their
but I think he was
clash
also
moment.
quick to say, "Hey, I understand what you're doing. This is your place. I'm not imposing."
Well, listen, that's what you do as a
Thanks
beta.
for throwing a bag over my head while I was tied to the tree.
That's what you do as a beta during the apocalypse, or you get murked. But what's interesting about the movie, it doesn't beat you over the head with anything. Like it doesn't
No.
hammer any of its themes home. It just presents them in a really realistic, subtle way, and you're just left to sort of mull over them a little bit, and then you kind of move on. So it's a little.
Well, and that's
Which
it's
is-
especially true of the ending, right? Is that like there's a very clear kind of full circle thing going on, which I don't think is really saying anything significant, and it doesn't actually reveal anything about the nature of what's going on. But it is like it is a very sort of on the nose, full circle, like down to some of the dialogue kind of situation. And so like that would almost be the closest thing that I would say to being like really on the nose or beating you over the head with something. And it's not really beating you over the head with it. It's like a light feather duster to the head. It's just like there's not and it's the art house sensibility, right? It's like you're I don't know that people, especially mainstream moviegoers, love filling in this many blanks. There are a lot of blanks.
That's fair.
It's almost all blanks. So like it's almost all blanks, but it's like it's pretty rich visually, and I think there's obvious like symbolism and stuff going on, and there's really like well drawn out relationships, but you really have to be paying very close attention to pick up on all of it. Which like
Right.
there's something to be said about having a film that's that high quality, but we've already kind of speaking of like beating things to death, it's like we've already kind of covered the fact that like most people don't go to a Regal or AMC theater and sit in a fancy recliner seat in an air conditioned theater to like really dissect a movie like this.
It's really brutal too. Like you don't come out of it feeling good because it's so realistic and so nihilistic and
Well,
just
it's just
like.
it's sad, yes.
And the ending,
very
I mean,
sad.
Right.
Going back to it, I mean, I'm probably, like most movies, I'm probably never going to watch this again.
Can we like just say that we're gonna break into spoiler territory?
Well, yeah,
Well,
but I
can
want
I
to.
say like one thing before you break into spoiler territory?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, so like the again, like kind of what works so well in the film is actually like what Eric and Casey have been like talking about as far as like these kind of negotiations amongst characters about what their power status is in any given relationship, as well as Travis's dealing basically with all of his emotional and like sexual issues, or like I don't want to call them issues, but like his feelings. And so like all that stuff is like what works. And watching this film after watching like Trey Schultz's first film, Krisha, like that's very much, you know, that film, a majority of the interactions amongst the family are actually kind of like in the background. It's kind of a combination of Terrence Malick and a Robert Altman movie where these people are having these conversations that like mean so much to them, like at a very like primal emotional level. But at the same time, they're kind of like in the background and they're subdued. So they're kind of like distanced from the camera. And so from that sense, like there's a very clear trajectory in which these are working. There's also an interview with Schultz in which he talked about how he wrote this film while dealing with his father's death. And I think that that informs a majority of like Travis's experience, you know, like over the course of the picture. But at the same time, like kind of going back to our original conversation, like I just kind of don't understand like why frame it in this heavily coded genre subtext, you know, like, or not necessarily subtext, but the setting, you know, like the setting like means so much to so many people right now, particularly because it's so overplayed. And I just kind of don't understand like where the combination of like those themes of like power and emotional reconciliation kind of fit into a post-apocalypse setting. Right. I mean, obviously those things are already there, but I don't understand like if you're going to make a film about those things, why set it in this?
Well,
I don't. Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, Andy, talk to me about the son's boner journey.
The son's boner journey?
At some point, I mean, at several points, seems to become a really critical part of the story, but other than him just kind of being lonely, I wasn't really sure what to make of it so much.
It's just like how earnestly you threw out the phrase boner journey and then went on to very seriously explain a.
It's a B-side to a Darkness album.
Yeah.
No, I mean like I think
when we get far. I was just gonna say, like, when we get
it's your show after all, Eric. Go ahead.
When we get far removed from this, I feel like one of the things that's gonna stick with me over a lot of the plot is just the son's loneliness in general, and like him being so young and not having any context to deal with anything in his life, you know, because like who knows how long most of his adolescence could have been spent during the apocalypse, basically.
Right, and I think that that's like very much a product of why they had that plot point in there, because you know, there are a couple of spaces in the house that are heavily highlighted. And those spaces are the attic, in which Travis actually like kind of spies on and like watches Kim and Will and their son Andrew, who is also living with them. And there's also like the hallway that leads to the red door. And then there's also Travis's bedroom. And all three of those spaces have like, they're kind of like imbued with certain like symbolic qualities. Like the attic is of course the place where like, you know, like repressed or secret things are kept. And so that kind of makes sense of like why he kind of like starts formulating these sexual feelings for Kim in that place. And then in the hallway that leads to the red door, there's a sequence early in the film in which it actually like, there's a close up on a famous like painting that I'm not gonna remember the painter's name, but it's basically like a depiction of the triumph of death. And then the camera tracks down the hallway to the red door, and it's filled with pictures of Travis like in graduation or like with his family. And so I think that, you know, the majority of this film is actually about like Travis's journey into the core experiences of being human, right? Like the core experiences of being human are like joy, experiencing death, and experiencing sexuality. And I think that that's kind of what the film is trying to get at with that thread in the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, the other interesting thing too is that like they never talk about what's happening. You know, there isn't a single conversation in the film that gives you context as to what has gone on in this world. The entire film is just about them dealing with it.
That's the beauty of it, though. You don't need the context for this.
I'm not saying you do.
Story.
I'm just saying it's an interesting point.
I know. I'm just saying that's a good part of the writing of it, that you don't. it's written well enough that you can accept it, that there's something bad with a plague. You don't need any more.
After seeing this, though, and knowing it was filmed in rural New York, and after having recently watched A Place Beyond the Pines, I feel like I know the Newell brothers quite well now.
Oh my god, that movie gave me some really intense feels that I'm still not fully
Place Beyond the Pines,
prepared to deal with.
realer than you know, my friend.
Yeah, if you watched that movie and said, "Boy, that place sure is depressing," that's like literally 10 minutes away from where Eric and I grew up. That's actually a more developed part of town than where Eric and I grew
Our
up.
town
I
was
was
like,
watching
listen,
it just like on Google Maps. Like, oh,
Listen,
this is where Mike and
our
I've been to that
town-
county fair. I haven't seen Ryan Gosling there, but I've been there.
Listen, our town was nicer than the Place Beyond the Pines. Let's say that.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, that was literally the place beyond the pines. We were on the other side of the pines. The place within the pines is where we grew up.
So, do we need to spoil this now?
Sure,
Yeah,
go
probably.
ahead. Somebody bring me home.
Okay, so as the film progresses, there's this moment in which Travis actually like wakes up in the middle of the night because he's experiencing nightmares throughout the film, and he finds Andrew, Kim, and Will's son, and he takes Andrew back to their bedroom, and eventually Travis finds that his dog has been killed and has returned to like just behind the red door. So at that point, there's a conversation amongst everyone there about like what to do next. And at this point, Joel Edgerton's character, Paul, decides that everyone should be secluded and go into basically like quarantine to see if anyone is sick or has contracted the virus. During this time, this is also like another interesting thing about the ambiguity here is that it's kind of inferred that Andrew might be sick, but honestly, we never see that. But that doesn't matter because Paul and his wife, Sarah, they basically kind of assume that they are, and they're basically trying to kick that family out of the house. Thus begins a very tense conflict that results in Paul killing Will and Sarah and their son.
Yeah, and then, doesn't the wife shoot one of them?
Oh, I think the wife kills Paul, right? Or I'm sorry,
or something
Will,
like
right?
that. Like and then the two of them are sitting at the table. So is their son dead?
And then
He's
it's
sick.
yeah.
So right, then they have to kill him, and then they're just sitting at the table, doing nothing, staring at each other, and the fucking screen cuts to black. And
Yeah.
that is the point at which my theater almost turned into a riot that led to the real apocalypse because people were like, "WTF?"
And
But-
then you got a URL that was talking about sanitation.
Right.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean,
honestly,
we blazed through it, but like there's a lot going on, right? Like I'll get back to the death of the young child thing because I want to talk about that. But when they put their own son down, basically to just kind of get whatever. That's the part I was talking about, where there are all these parallels to the beginning of the movie where they put the grandfather out of the misery, where the mom is literally, I can't remember her exact words, but it's basically like, you can let go now. She says the exact same thing to her son that they said to her grandpa. And it's like this very weird sort of, I mean, I guess it's a very clear callback, right? It's not,
Yeah.
I don't know that there's anything to draw, but that was what I was talking about. I was saying, like, it's the most on the nose thing, that there's just a very clear repeated dialogue that that they were as prepared to kill off the grandfather as they were with the son, and they did it in the exact same way, which is,
Yeah.
just kind of on the nose, like pretty typical full circle storytelling, I guess.
Yeah, like Eric said, to this way this ending of this movie works, and I can see why people were not happy with it. It is very abrupt, very nihilistic in a sense, and it just catches you off guard. And yes, I walked out of the theater thinking, what the hell? I can't believe they ended it like that. But it's further I get away from it, I kind of dug it.
Well,
For
it's
the most part.
crazy. Like, the tension is really building. Like, it's just very like heavy and foreboding. And then when like things start going crazy, they're crazy not for 5 minutes, they're crazy for about 2 minutes. And then like, oh shit, everyone's dead.
Right,
It happens
that's-
very
Yeah.
fast.
I think again, like if I had any sense that I was coming to the end of the film, I could have handled the ending better, but like didn't even
Yeah.
realize I was in the third act almost.
Yeah, for me, it definitely took a day or two away from it to be able to appreciate it more. Because when you look back and you see everything, as Mark said, it spirals out of control super fast. Things get brutal. Things get deadly. Things get really ugly and uncomfortable. And then if they're building up to this point, because my impression of it, Travis hadn't died yet. They'd shown him upstairs having his nightmare, woke up from his nightmare or in his nightmare, and he had the sores all over him, things like that. And then he woke up and his mom's talked to him, said, "You can let go." We knew he was sick. And we get down there. We already seen what's happened and what they do with people that are sick, and we see how much far that mom and dad will go to protect their family because they were both involved in all this chaos that happened. We don't need to see it happen because it's kind of like the end of The Mist. We know what's going to happen. We know that they will do what has to be done. That's all you need is that meaningful look between the two of them, and it just leaves you thinking, "Oh shit."
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely stunning. Like for me, while everyone else was shouting, I was kind of sitting there like, "Holy shit!" And there's something to be said about how if you like grim, depressing movies, holy shit, this is for you. Like because it's so real. It really just backed up my feeling that if the apocalypse ever happens, I'm going to hopefully go very fast because I don't want any part of this whole murdering your neighbor thing. So, because it's really...
Eric's going to cover himself in barbecue sauce at the start of the zombie apocalypse.
Because it's really sad. Like these people want to come together and help each other be safer, but just because of the circumstances, like it was doomed from the start.
Well, and I mean, the literal ending of the movie with the parents sitting across from each other at the table is the sort of thing I'm talking about, where it's like, it's all subtext, and you can think about like, oh, they're thinking about the enormity of all this shit and whatever. But like what the audience saw was just brutal fucking sadness and no answers. And then like, you kind of feel like the parent sitting at the table, just staring off into the distance. Like, what did I just watch? There was not, this is like the exact opposite of a satisfying conclusion, and not just because it's a more artsy film, it's because you sat through this like brutal, really heavy tension, and like typically that tension is relieved in some sort of crazy and satisfying way, and this is not that. This is, the tension is relieved in the sense that it's no longer tense, but it's no longer tense because everybody's dead.
And not to mention, for the average moviegoer, they get that very abrupt ending at the end of a movie where they thought they were coming to see a monster movie.
I mean, and we're kind of accustomed to dog death at the very least, and not necessarily
still
small
gets
child
me, bro.
Death,
still gets me.
I mean, yeah, no, I'm not saying that it doesn't get me. I'm just saying, like, again, mainstream moviegoer, it's a lot for to ask of us who have seen all manner of depressing movies and have like just a wider, just like more breadth of knowledge of films and stuff, from like a your average mainstream moviegoer. But like, I can't imagine can you imagine like taking a date to see this movie and you're like, oh, like a first date. It's like, oh, let's see this movie. This sounds cool.
We can never get married and have kids.
Oh, there's really sad young child death. There's dog death. It's brutal.
You want some chicken wings? Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right, Mark. Movie guide me.
Oh, child, it's been so long. So for those of you who are new, are you new? Movieguide.org is our favorite Christian website that reviews movies for their objectionable content. And if you're still worried about spoilers, it's full of spoilers, so strap in. It Comes at Night features a strong pagan worldview of hopelessness and violence, which is devoid of grace and compassion, though it does share the Christian biblical worldview of the sinfulness of man. 18 obscenities, 18 obscenities, including 13 F words, and 3 strong profanities, graphic violence, including people are shot execution style and in combat. There's a euthanasia killing of an old person with a terrible terminal disease. A young child is shot as well. A man is beaten repeatedly in the face. A horrifying, sickly man is seen in a nightmare. A dead dog is shown. They really glossed over that. Light sexual content includes a boy has a fantasy about a woman coming to his bed at night, but it turns into a nightmare before anything happens. And viewers hear sexual moaning from another room. Upper male nudity. Woman and man sit in bath together, but no private parts shown. Light alcohol use. No smoking or drugs, and paranoia.
So how can you have upper male nudity, but then there's also a classification of private parts?
Are there private parts?
I would also argue that it was not full upper male nudity because he was wearing a bag on his head, if that's the part they're
Wait
talking
a second.
about.
Wait a second.
Truth.
Did I miss private parts in this movie?
No, you did not. No, you did not.
I
They were
said
saying that the
no-
private parts
no
were
private
obscured.
Oh, okay.
They were inside of the bathtub, and we only saw from the head up of
That's
the bathtub.
right. That's right.
Maybe that's because his head was covered in the bag. Right, Mark. Got
Yeah.
it.
All right, guys. Do you recommend this? Andy. Sorry.
God, it's
Everybody
so hard.
wants-
It's so hard to say one way or the other. I would say, honestly, like I would say no. I think that it's too uneven of a movie, and I really respect it. And I really like the filmmaker, but like I don't know, it's too much of a uneven handling of it.
Casey.
I would say yes. Just be prepared for what kind of movie you're getting into.
Mark.
I wouldn't spend money on it, but if you're like, man, I want to watch a really depressing movie on a rainy day, this would actually be a pretty interesting piece to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. I think you, like Casey said, you just have to know what you're getting into. It's an incredibly tense movie with a very dishonest marketing campaign. So you just got to know there's no it and nothing comes. So there you go.
Not even the teenage boy.
I mean, we don't
Right,
know
that's
that.
a
There was
huge
no close-up.
that's a huge
We don't
plot
know.
point. All
That
right,
could be a
guys.
side effect of the plague. You never know.
It
We'll
is
never know.
that is gonna do it for our review of It Comes at Night. It is time to do some fan mail.
Every legend is based on fact. Every myth is grounded in truth. For 17 years, the town of Haddonfield, Illinois, has been haunted by a night when evil roamed the streets and a madman ruled the night. Everyone knows his name. Now, everyone will know the truth.
I knew what he was, but I never knew why.
Halloween 6, the origin of Michael Myers.
Hey, this is Brian O'Halloran. You might know me from such films as Clerks, Clerks 2, Brutal Massacre. You're listening to BloodyGoodHorror.com.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. Did you catch that, Mark? Did you catch the title of that movie? And did you pick up on what I was laying down there?
Yeah, I got it.
No, I don't think you did.
No, I
That
didn't.
that trailer was for the Halloween 6, the origin of Michael Myers, which is what that movie was originally called when it would resemble what became the producer's cut. So that is a trailer that was released with the original title before it was changed to Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers.
I could not tell because there was insufficient mention of runes.
Yes.
I also want to point out too, I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the show, but that Brian O'Halloran bumper is one of my favorites, if only because only I know that I got that bumper at Horror Hound when I was very drunk, and I ran into Brian O'Halloran and was just like, speaking to my phone, and he's like, okay, get away from me, and then he said, it's just kind of funny, just like a typical horror convention sort of thing. He's like, he was walking somewhere, he had somewhere to go, and I just stopped him in the middle of the truck.
And,
Like, hey, can
and
you
he
record a bumper for a
still
podcast?
he still put more effort into it than Tom Savini. So there you have
Fucking
it.
Tom Savini. Come on, man. Get it together.
Toby,
We made you, brother.
Toby wrote in about the Babadook becoming an LGBT
Oh my god,
icon.
it's my favorite thing.
And he wrote in with a confusing question that I'm not going to ask because I don't think any of us are going to answer. But I wanted to talk about this. Can someone explain this to me? Because I have yet to read an article about it.
No.
I really
I mean,
can't
there
explain
was-
it
I
at
read
all.
an
I know it
article-
happened.
I
Damn it,
can't
you
like
guys.
intelligently speak to it, but there was an article that I read that basically said that the character of the Babadook is basically like a drag queen in mannerisms and like the way that he speaks. It's like I'll have to dig it up,
Interesting.
but it's pretty
Now,
ridiculous.
what about the Babadook? Has the Babadook become an icon for anyone?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
That's how Schnarr says it.
Oh,
The Babadook.
Shymal and Babadook.
Oh boy.
But I love it, man. Anytime there's some like weird mainstream horror crossover, it's my favorite. And also, there's an icon in Slack now that is the Babadook holding a little rainbow flag, which is like my favorite thing in the world. God, I love the internet.
Levi writes in, I really liked The Eyes of My Mother. And then he writes a bunch of spoilers about the ending, which
Do you
I
think
can't
that
read.
he thinks we're his online therapist? I feel like that was the beginning of it.
But he has an interesting theory. He has an interesting theory about the ending, which I can't read because it's a spoiler. He says, bloody good show. P.S. I really enjoyed Alien Covenant as well. I think David is a very complex, layered character that adds to the depth of what Ridley Scott is trying to say with his new run at the franchise. That is from Levi. Thank you for that, Levi. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Andy, you were getting some props on Twitter for your description of Prometheus as a bouillabaisse of Nietzsche and space cobras, I believe was the... Did you see that, Andy? You're muted, bro. Andy, you're muted.
You're still muted.
Andy, you're muted.
Hi.
There you
How's it
go.
going? That is a sticker I'm now manufacturing, yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
Would have been a great pull quote if it was about a movie that didn't come out 3 years ago or whatever that was.
Yeah, no, it takes me some time. I gotta like let that shit marinate.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like a good soup.
anyway, you got
Like a good believe.
you got a shout out from a listener on Twitter about that, Andy, so you've been shout outed.
Aw, thanks.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Mark, how about Twitter?
Oh my! So we commonly use two hashtags on this show. The first one is BGH Classics. So if you are a patron of the show, which gives you access to the back episodes, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror, and you are listening to a back episode and you think there's something silly that you want to bring to our attention, tweet it to us with the hashtag BGH Classics and try and cram the episode number in there if you can, and we'll read it on the show. This first one is from Berninator Ben, episode 372, Joe in a German accent, which I'm not going to do. I call Sub-Zero. He reminds me of my father because he's cold and does not speak. God damn it. Like, I just want to know what goes on inside Joe's head. Maybe
That
I
is
don't,
such
but
a-
also...
Yeah.
That is such a Joe quote. Oh
It's
my
I think
so-
god.
I think Joe's head is a bouillabaisse of space cobras. I don't want to see it.
I
Yeah,
learned
sure.
I learned way too much about Joe's family from the Eyes of My Mother episode.
Oh my god. Anywho, next one, Mr. Finn 607. Sophie says, I think you were just wooed by all the women in French cut bathing suits, to which Eric replied, I do love me a high hipper.
Nice.
Which is like more of an 80-year-old quote than a
Sure.
I do love me a good high hipper. Next one, also from Mr. Finn 607. After John explains what having a kid and sleep deprivation does to your body, Eric says, John, if I get less than 7 hours of sleep, I'm a mess.
Yeah, and so the last
Episode
year of my life
342.
has been like that. So
I mean, you've pretty much been falling asleep on the show, so that makes sense.
yeah, I mean you can chart it, go back and watch the streams and see it for the last year.
Oh, I can't wait for that to happen. Anywho, next one is from That Baseball Joe. John says, I haven't gotten my paycheck lately. Joe says, yeah, John, do I talk to you about my yearly bonus? Episode 246.
Nice.
Next one, also from That Baseball Joe. And when I say hold tight, I mean clutch your dinghy. That was from me. Episode 246, Evil Dead. Great. Next one. It's from also, wow, the next two are from That Baseball Joe. What is the odds I found you under this one tree? What? Anyway, later.
No. So, okay, so
I'm-
that's from Exist. If you recall the end of Exist, right, the surviving people have scattered out into the woods, and one of them climbs underneath a tree into like a little opening under the tree, and then somehow the other person who's running around the woods randomly finds this tree and gets under it. And I remember being like, at no point in their conversation do they mention like how crazy it is that they both ended up under the same tree. And then I
Right.
think you chimed in with what that quote is, which is like, What, I don't know. Read it again.
What are the odds that I found you under this one tree? Anyway, later.
Yeah. I love that movie. I keep wanting
Yeah, this
to go
says
back.
Eric finding Mark under the tree. But again, as
Right.
with all BGH classics, it's really unclear whether it's Eric or I because our voices sound almost exactly the same on the show.
That's fair. Mark, pretty much, if it's funny, Mark likes to take credit for it, and if it's vulgar, he blames it on me.
I thought you were going to give me credit. If it's funny, it's definitely me.
No.
My
And
sweet
if it
brother
sounds like it came
Nosies.
from an 80-year-old man, it's definitely from Eric. All right, last one from That Baseball Joe. This was a Joe quote from episode 348, Cooties. Mark did fit snugly in my child's car seat on the way to horror. Fuck you retroactively, Joe. Thank you. Anywho, so that's it for BGH Classics. We also use the hashtag AskBGH. If you have a question and you want us to answer it on the show, tweet it with the hashtag AskBGH. And if it's not a stupid question, we'll do our best to answer it. This first one is from Gardner7001. Are you guys planning on reviewing A Dark Song or Beyond the Gates? I believe both are direct-to-VOD 2017 releases.
I don't know.
Well, we do have reviews for the Dark Song, at least. I believe the Beyond the Gates is also on bloodygoodhorror.com.
We can watch some trailers and see if we can add them to the list. I have a new policy this year. I'm not just blindly adding things to the list without watching the trailer. Or like at least if we're saying, hey, we're going to watch it, I'm going to go check it out because we got burned a couple times last year, I feel like.
Have you ever added anything to the movie list?
You know what I mean. Like by adding it to the list, I mean telling you to add it to the list. Same thing.
Fair point.
All right, I'm sending you guys a picture to reference with this next tweet. This is from Game Watch Apple. Since Eric is always doing it to John, Eric looks like the lead singer of Missio. Missio is a band that
you
I
have
had
a
to look
picture?
up. You know,
Which
this
one's
guy
the lead
does.
singer?
Is it the bald guy in the back?
Fuck you, Casey.
Damn, son.
Hey, Casey. Right here, buddy.
Casey went in.
Double
It wasn't
Uh,
the reference of being bald, but he does look like Eric more than
Oh,
the
I
rest
was
of them.
I was gonna say it's the guy with the
No.
eyebrows and the flippy haircut. in
I'm
the
going to
front.
guess one of the two short gentlemen in the front is who's being referred to.
Yeah, I think it's maybe the flippy hair guy.
Okay.
I don't know.
I wish I had that guy's hairline. It's majestic.
Yeah,
I think I kind of look like the other small dude. Don't you?
maybe if you put them together.
If they had a baby.
That guy kind of looks like he has a lip ring. I don't know if he has a lip ring or not.
Um,
This is very
I have
important.
I had a friend's mother growing up who insisted that I look like Topher Grace, like especially back like weaselly like young Topher Grace. At the time, I had like a mop of hair, so it actually was pretty apt. That one is
Back in-
kind of accurate. I feel like I sound like
Yeah.
him too, oddly enough.
Back in the day when I was like really, really like almost sickly skinny, someone told me I looked like David Spade, and I was trying to find a way that could possibly be a compliment.
I think we called you Starvin' Marvin for a while, also.
Yes, very sensitive. Very sensitive.
I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't create that character. South Park did. I just called it you the name.
Got it.
You were fine.
Understood.
You weren't starving. You just were incapable of gaining weight.
I ate like a fucking monster. I just never gained any weight. I did think about this. We've often made reference to the fact that that our grandmother always tried to get me to drink malted milk to gain weight, and every time.
Which is
Like, I
such
do,
a
like-
hilariously depression era thing to do. Like,
Well, it's funny because now I like do protein shakes and shit that's like pretty much literally malted
Yeah.
milk. It only took
Here,
12
Mark.
years for that advice to sink in.
Here, Mark, drink this lard. It'll put some weight on you. And like when you went to college and you got your freshman 40 or whatever it was, and you were weighted
Dude, I seriously gained like a freshman 70. I'm not even kidding.
like it was jarring to see you.
Yeah.
But you didn't look big. You just looked like, oh, like that's a normal human being.
Yeah, they just look swollen. All right, next one is
You
from,
got stung by a bunch of bees.
Yeah, this is not a good look for me. Let's see. Next one is from That Baseball Joe. Do you think It Comes at Night should have been a Netflix release? That's a very interesting
I think I said
question.
it over email. If we all saw this on Netflix, we would have just been blown away and wouldn't have had to have the conversation about the misleading nature of it, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe not Andy. Andy's very discerning, although he doesn't seem to understand the mute button.
Got it.
There you go, buddy.
You know what's funny? I have noticed too, I get shit for this at work all the time. I have a habit on the podcast of muting my mic if I'm going to click or do anything on the keyboard. So like I do it at work all the time and I forget to unmute. And then like I slipped up the other day and just started crazy, like super fast typing. And someone was like, "Could you please slow the fuck down or mute your mic?" And I was like,
That's why you gotta
Yeah.
get the mic arm, bro. Then you can do whatever you want.
Just like throw it around like I'm a radio host.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need this shit. All right. Next one is from Jagauna 91. Listen to ABCs of Death 2 episode. Mark, you need to do the Grape Lady impression again.
Grape Lady, what is that?
I don't know. But...
Like,
that.
the lady who falls when she steps out of the grapes. Oh god.
Oh god, that's fucking hilarious.
It's funny
Thank you,
because
Andy, you are like you're my external memory.
Yeah,
If I forget anything else, I'm just gonna text you
That-
and be like, "What?"
yeah, that was a pretty good poll. It's funny because I was just having this thought today about how, like, how nostalgic I am for like early internet shit like that, and
Back in the day when you had to wait 20 minutes before you
like-
could even watch the fucking video you were trying to download.
like just
Hey, wait,
thinking,
guys, it's buffering. It's buffering.
like just thinking about peanut butter jelly time makes me really happy.
you
like,
ever
I
watch
just-
a real player video, guys?
Yeah. Oh god, fucking real player. Jeez, or like Winamp.
You needed an app just to stream.
Here's a horror fan experience from the early 2000s, late 90s. Downloading like a Halloween theme for Winamp, but it really sucked. And then when you installed it, you like couldn't really see your buttons anymore
Yeah, it turns your fucking play button into like a pumpkin, and you're
'Cause
like,
they-
"What am I supposed to do?"
Well,
with
no,
this?"
because like you could do maps, so just map a photo over it. But if you didn't properly map the buttons out as different colors, you couldn't see shit and didn't know what you were doing.
Fucking Winamp. I tried doing a Winamp skin once. That sucked. That was terrible. Anywho, next one is from JD Burge. Next one is from Evil Lynn 822. Did you feel like the marketing for this movie was a con? I thought it was an excellent film, but definitely not what I expected.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
I would use words that harshly.
yes. I think we covered that in depth.
We sure did. Next one is from JD Burge. Will a wide release art house horror ever be a crowd pleaser? I think the cinema score is a D and The Witch was a C minus.
If you're gonna do it, there's got to be something there for the mainstream audience. You can't serve them up a straight ass like art house horror film because they're not.
You know, well, you know what's
find
interesting?
You need to hybrid the two things and find a way to please both sides.
I mean, the closest thing, like even if you just look at A24, a movie that I was surprised didn't get a bigger release was Green Room, and Green Room's not really art house so much as
Dude.
it's like,
It's incredible.
but it's
Just
so
like-
good.
It's very specific.
Yeah, well, and also in that way, Swiss Army Man was another A24 movie, which I still haven't seen
Mhm.
yet, and I like really want to see. And actually, Mondo just released a pretty amazing poster for
I mean,
it.
It's a great poster,
maybe
yeah.
A24 just wasn't there yet or something. But like, when I really think
No,
about
they've
it,
been around for a while.
no, but I mean, like, I don't know, like ready to do it the way that they are now. But when I
Well,
think about it,
so
Green Room
they-
could have been huge with the same push that this got. Like, you could make a kick-ass trailer for that movie.
I mean, A24 also did Ex Machina, which I would argue was like a very successful art house movie. I mean, but again, it was more traditionally sci-fi than it was like super art housey. It was just like of a very high quality. So it's tricky. Like I think A24 will be able to make successful genre movies, but probably not ones that are this kind of like subtle or low key or just overbearing in that way. I don't know.
Not released by them, but I was just looking to see if It Follows had a cinema score, and it's not pulling up. But I'm really curious to see like what that would be.
But again, that's not like that's not art house in this way, right? Like I mean, I guess it kind of is. It's like there's some really weird, obscure concepts in it. But also, if you're not looking for that sort of thing, it's like literally it's a slasher movie basically. So I don't know.
It's
It is
slasher-
interesting.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure.
I had a lot of people asking me about It Follows when it came out. Like, what's the deal with It Follows?
Well,
Anyhow,
And then Mark was like, "These airplane peanuts. Let me tell you about them."
yeah. Well, you see, you have sex with a person and then another person follows. You know what? Forget it. Next one is from Viva La Tony. Would you watch Universal's Dark Universe films if they were just prequels to a good League of Extraordinary Gentlemen film? I don't know.
sure.
That depends.
Isn't that kind of what they're doing?
Fair.
I haven't seen the Mummy yet, but just from the trailers, I know Russell Crowe is Dr. Jekyll. So I mean, that's kind of what sounds like what they're doing, anyways.
Universal
Or
was
do
the
you-
original universe.
Our dear friend Craig over at bloodygoodhorror.com says that he would not go watch those. So take that as you will.
I mean, we did have an interesting conversation about the quality of the Wolfman, which certainly has a quality that I would argue is not a good quality. But
I'll tell you what, if Tom Cruise does any kind of like somersaults or gymnastics tricks, I will see anything.
there you go. You just let us into your soul a little bit. Next one, Lycanthropology. Did y'all see that the Crooked Man from Conjuring 2 is supposed to get his own movie? Give me those hot takes. We already kind of did.
Like, I'm into it because that's a cool character, but also I just don't care about those movies anymore. Like, it's the same movie every goddamn time.
He's
I
like a
saw that
stick
movie.
figure, but taller.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say I saw that movie and was on the show, but I don't remember what the Crooked Man was.
It was just
Um,
like a shadowy monster.
It was
thing
so
that was like,
he had a little like musical toy box or like
oh, that's
no
right.
the
Okay,
A
now I
Nick- he had
remember.
a Nickelodeon.
Spinny Doodle.
No, what it
Yep.
is called.
And yeah, and then like it's mentioned earlier in the film, and then there's a whole sequence where at night he comes alive and stalks them, and it's like stop motion, and then it's like a dude, and it was
So is
cool.
that the same movie that the Nun was in? What was the Nun in?
Insidious, the original Insidious, right?
No,
No,
the
she was in
Nun
Insidious
is the
2.
original
Insidious
Conjuring. The
2.
Nun is the original Conjuring.
What? Are you fucking serious? I can't even keep this stuff straight
Seriously?
anymore. Ay, ay, ay.
Just put
Uh,
pancake makeup on something and call it a movie.
I only care about Bagul and the Babadook.
Oh, Bagul, rest in piss.
Rest in peace. Oh, Christ. Next one. Bad attitude for you. Assuming it doesn't include just getting a really bad rash, what coming at night would terrify you the most?
Spiders.
I'll tell you what, I had a fucking raccoon climb down my chimney one night. That was terrifying.
Oh, don't fucking tell me that, man.
Dude,
We have a chimney.
That happened in our neighborhood growing up, and it was an elderly couple, and like literally like effed both of them up really bad, and it was rabid. And so literally ever since then, if you go to my parents' house right now, they have a string tied around their fireplace glass guard thing to keep it shut.
Wait, that's what that's there
Oh my
for?
God.
Yeah, because those people got like mauled by a friggin' rabid raccoon.
I just learned something about my parents' house
Yeah.
that I did not previously know.
Eric, did you just invite me to your parents' house? When can I go?
Anytime, buddy. My dad would like you.
The true
Perfect.
story is that it's meant to keep Andy from sneaking down the chimney.
I am the world's best Krampus.
You just see like the first thing you see is just beard tendrils like slowly lowering.
He Rapunzels himself down the chimney.
Just bits of cold swaying in the wind.
Beard Punzel. Last one. It's from Stovall Cody 42. Has anything come at night to your house that has scared you?
Raccoons.
I don't know.
Yeah, I lived in when I lived in Rochester, I went home for I think I told the story in the show, but I went home for the weekend, and I came back and I was about to go to bed and I heard footsteps in my apartment, and I like freaked the fuck out. I grabbed, I don't know, some sort of a wrench. I had like a huge pipe wrench and I grabbed it and went around, and I get into the kitchen and I see a person in my kitchen, and it is the older stoner gentleman that lives above me. And he said, well, while you were away for the weekend, the landlord was doing repairs in my apartment. So she unlocked your apartment and told me that I could use your bathroom.
What?
So that guy had been taking steamy shits in my apartment all weekend, and had I not almost brained him with a pipe wrench, I would have never found that out.
Oh God, you weren't gonna brain anyone.
I don't know, man.
That might be a good place to end the show, Mark.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nice work, buddy.
He, he came at night to take a shit in my apartment.
Go out on a high note. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. We're also on Twitter @BGHorror, Snapchat, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, and fucking Twitter. We are on all of the things that you might want us to be on. You know who's coming at night, Mark? We are. For you.
Everywhere.
So
On all
get
of your
it.
social medias.
That's right. What are we doing next week?
No idea.
We have no idea.
Sweet. Love it. Oh, but are we gonna subject ourselves to the Mummy next week? Is that what we
Oh, yeah,
decided?
I gotta see it at some point.
I think that is.
I
It's too
fucking hope
long.
not. I quit.
Fucking assholes. All right, guys. Hope you appreciate everything we do for you. That's gonna do it for this week's episode of Bloody Good Horror. We'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
Farewell.
Bye-bye.